let's talk about some more positive things, because I don't want people to think we're just going to rag on WWE all the time. But I mean, like, what do you think about the new NXT 2.0? You've been following that for a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I think it's been a positive product. Maybe if you compare it to the original NXT, the one that everyone more closely associates with the stuff they like.
Right.
It's not the same thing, but it's not trying to be the same thing now. I think it's doing its own thing, and they're showing you they're casting this wide net with this wide cast of characters, people you have already seen before and newer people. And I think for the most part, people are being received fairly positively. What do you make of this?
It reminds me a lot of a vamped up Florida Championship Wrestling right before it became NXT.
Right.
That's kind of what it reminds me of. Mm-hmm. A lot of characters they're just throwing out there, hoping that things stick.
And emphasis on the youth.
Yes.
And the future.
They are, even though apparently their viewers are 60.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the hell's going on with that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Everyone's watching at Nana's house. It's the only thing to explain.
That's what I said. It's got to be. They're over at Grandpa sitting in front of the fireplace.
Yeah.
Anyways, great family moments on NXT 2.0.
Yes. Like Andre Chase dropping curses left and right.
Right.
I love Andre Chase, by the way. But yeah, I think you're right. It definitely has that kind of early or late FCW feel. The focus on the new, the focus on the future and everything. Like NXT is always kind of touted they're about the future, but when you've got older guys like Finn Balor and Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong, those guys in your space, and you've had these older independent or signed from Japan guys who are there, and it's just how much of this is future, how much of it's just present we are currently capitalizing on.
Right. No, great way to bring that up, actually.
Yeah, I feel that what we're seeing now is you're getting a good mesh of the old and the new, or the present and the future. There's a lot of upside with a lot of the talent they're pushing. The only one I'm not too hot about right now is Von Wagner. Everyone else I'm open to. Even Tony D'Angelo, who I was kind of is this going to be really appropriate? In these times to have this kind of blatant stereotype mafia character there. But it's worked, and I think what helped him especially more than anything were the vignettes, because here's guys like Zion Quinn and the Singapore-born wrestler whose name escapes me right now. Those guys didn't really get vignettes, and fans are kind of meh on them. Yeah. Same with Von Wagner. He's had a vignette so far, but Tony D'Angelo had weeks of vignettes. If that character just dropped cold on NXT last week, people wouldn't know how to respond to him.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, and vignettes are the way to put a guy over. That's why I was so surprised that Malachi Black got released from WWE, is because they put him over for how many weeks on those, and then he goes on TV basically on AEW and he's over. Yeah, and I'm telling you, because people were excited for that freaking character and they never got it. Yeah, exactly. What were they thinking?
Yeah, you mentioned this. I think one of the first episodes we ever did. WWE gave AEW all this free publicity for Malachi Black by running those vignettes. Dude, shows up on TV once, then gets fired.
Dude, all they had to do. I mean, this is just my opinion. All they had to do is keep his employment for 7 more freaking days. And when he shows up to SmackDown, say, hey, it's your debut, buddy, but you're going to be losing tonight to Chad Gable. Or something like that. You know what I mean? And he's like, what? Yeah. And he's like, no, we're putting over one of our guys on your way out. You know, but no, they're just cut him cold. But so what I'm trying to say, though, is let's use a guy like Carlito, right? Can you imagine if Carlito had just showed up on Raw spitting apples at people? He didn't have those vignettes for weeks where he was spitting on people on the beach. So he'd be like, what the fuck is this guy?
Who's this weirdo?
Yeah, he's like that asshole in the lunch line at school. Spits on. What is this about? So yeah, you're right. If they just cold turkey dropped a gimmick on people, I sometimes think they'd be like, what the fuck? But so tell me about Von Wagner, because I haven't seen much. I have been following NXT 2.0 as far as some clips on YouTube and some of your stuff, but I don't know what's going on with Von Wagner. Is he just not really impressive in the ring, or because he
here's my biggest knock on him. I think he's incredibly generic, painfully generic, from his tights to his music to his appearance, everything. It's like I said on my review this week, he's like a creator wrestler when you first start out, before you gather all the points and the currency to buy the good gear.
I don't even know if they could make that forehead on a creator wrestler though. Jesus Christ.
Right? But not only that, also I detect a real lack of connecting with the crowd. That's the one way to get fans on your side, is by just even looking at them and doing stuff. I have not seen Von Wagner to keep his eyes off the ring into the crowd at any point in the times we've seen him on TV. And I think that's why people don't connect with him. I mean, there's a bit of an underground kind of ironic, pseudo-ironic fandom of his, but I don't know if that's genuine. I don't know if it's going to get genuine if Vaughn is going to stay as this kind of blank slate as he is. Unfortunately, he's the one real dig I've got on the current new crop of NXT 2.0 people. It's just that he's so plain. He doesn't work. He doesn't work the crowd.
I think a lot of people were called up way early, you know, just because they wanted to have such new stuff, you know, so they didn't really have a lot of the stuff down that they should, like A to Z.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's going to come with time. But what I would say is this right here proves once again why I think on the very first episode they fucked up, and they really still should have had Braun Breaker be in that tournament instead of Vaughn later on. And Braun should have won. I said that almost like, am I talking about the same?
Braun should have won.
Well, I said that like, am I saying the wrong guy? But yeah, Braun Breaker should have won the championship that night to kick off a brand new NXT.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? With a brand new guy and a brand new look.
That's
and like,
true.
you know, like, and why Tommaso Ciampa? I don't hate him. I love Tommaso Ciampa, but just he looks like an old dude with a beard.
He's my age. I'm 3 months older than he is. Would you believe that?
What? So that means I'm probably older than him. So we're hella old.
Yeah, we're hella old.
Okay, well, I know I don't want to take freaking bumps at my age.
Well, yeah, but no, I think Ciampa winning the title a few weeks ago, I guess that's just like a means to an end. I think if they were feeling really, feeling froggy, I agree with you. Maybe putting the belt on Braun Breaker would have been a great holy shit moment. I think, and having him replace Von Wagner in that 4-way. I guess this is just a way to establish Braun Moore. I think, although I think honestly, he peaked at week 1 or 2 of NXT 2.0 in terms of the hype. They really, they really probably could have pulled the trigger on him on week 1, and it would have had the same impact as Halloween Havoc. But they got to build to Halloween Havoc, and I get that. So you want a kind of match to.
He would have eventually, though. Think about this. And this is real shit. They could have done the same exact thing with Braun Breaker that they did with Roman Reigns. And what I mean by that is push him down our freaking throat to where we're just like, oh my God, we're so sick of him. And then when he eventually does turn heel, you know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think what they're doing with Braun Breaker feels right.
Yeah.
I think he'll get his coronation at Halloween Havoc. That's probably not in doubt. As far as other people in NXT right now, I'm liking Toxic Attraction with Mandy Rose and Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. I'm liking their act right now. Mandy Rose feels totally reinvented from what she was in the main roster,
right?
Where she was like God's gift, and she had the whole thing with Sonya Deville that went on for a long time.
Well, they don't have Corey Graves orgasming on commentary for her anymore either. Too,
you have Wade Barrett doing it, which is almost as bad. But then you've got this, I feel that Mandy Rose is kind of floating in the ether after the Otis storyline is kind of petered out and didn't go anywhere, and they got split up in the draft, and then there was nothing for her to do, and of course the pandemic and that booking kind of makes people come and go at a different rate than maybe they would have been with a normal schedule.
She likes big boys and might hook her up with Beef Creed.
Beef Creed, yeah, maybe that's the next storyline for sure. Yeah, but no, I like where the Toxic Attraction's going with this. They're one of the few bright spots in the women's division right now, I feel, because a lot of those tag teams are so unestablished, and so even the women's tag team champions right now in NXT, I don't care for that angle because they spend so little time on it, and in the month or two they've had the belts, there's been no evolution in their story. It's just Io still going, I don't like you, and so it's well, I'm gonna keep trying, and there's no evolution to that. If they had some more matches to show that story being told, I'd dig it, but they haven't, so I don't. It's so NXT is a mixed bag right now. A month or 2 into it now, I would say it is a positive thing. For me personally, as a fan, I enjoy it. It's not the same thing as Raw or SmackDown. It's not the same thing as AEW. It's its own thing, and I appreciate that. It might not be a perfect show. It might, for some reason, score big with the older boomers, the 60-year-olds or whatever.
Right.
But I don't think that means it's a show for old people. I think there's things they're doing that are working, and I think that if they stay the course and just maybe cool it on call-ups for a bit and just kind of keep that roster the way it is right now while slowly integrating more new people when they're ready, then I think it's a good formula right now. If it just goes kind of back to the basics of what it always was as a developmental thing, instead of being ROH light or PWG light, then making it just its own thing, then I think it will work as long as they stop trying to be something else and be more and just dive into what they are.
I see what they're doing now more with this is they're more preparing people for the WWE style.
Yes.
I think is what it is, instead of bringing guys up that have already been trained. And I can kind of see that in any job, even though I don't work a typical, obviously 9-to-5 job, I can see where like in a retail position, right? You know, if you've got somebody that's already trained at some store and they come into your store and they're like, oh, we didn't do it like this at that store. We didn't do it like this there. We didn't. I like doing it this way. Whereas if you get somebody fresh that's new, they're like, how do I do this? And you teach them how to do it. Yeah, in your own way.
No, exactly. So yeah, NXT right now, I'm in favor of it. Jay, what would you say your kind of opinion of it?
No, I definitely don't hate it, but I like revamps of everything. Even this, you know, I hope they eventually one day are just like NXT 3.0 and it's like green and black or something. You know, like no, I'm serious. I'm like I like all sorts of weird crap.
Like that, every
every
season kind of change the look. I take
that, dude. Just new sets. I'm all about those aesthetics.
Honestly, since the crowd feels more like it's a more intimate kind of theater space, like or studio space, maybe divide it into seasons and color schemes. I wouldn't hate that.
You know what's funny? I actually said the other day to you, it does remind me a lot of the old WCW Saturday Night set. Yep. You know, what if they put the ring on a rotator?
Well, then I think the circle would be complete because Triple H has paid homage and tipped his cap to everything else WCW from the early 90s.
Right.
Might as well have it on a rotating dais on a Lazy Susan for that ring for sure.
Want to hear more? Subscribe to This Week in Regret on YouTube for full episodes of the podcast, dropping every Thursday night. Don't forget, we're also on SoundCloud.